Okay, I wanted to document some things before we go too much farther with putting the 289 back in the Mustang. There it is. I don't know if you can see it. Probably a little bit too much of a screenshot for this thing, but there's the car. So I'm going to put the engine back in it. It's been cleaned. I've checked it out. It's good to go. Once again, can't figure out why somebody took it out of the car. There really wasn't any failures I found anywhere so far. So there are the date codes that you can see. It is a 1964 casting. It's got the 5-bolt bell housing flange, so it is correct. And the date code there, the 4G, would be the 4th of July. July being the G month. Excuse me, the 13th of July. Take that back. 13th of July. There we go. 13th of July, 1964. Seems to go right along with the assembly date for the engine. And if I can get this around here without causing too much of a video nightmare. Right up front here is where they would put the assembly date. And you'll see that it is also 4G, there'd be the G, the 16th, so it's 3 days after it was cast, and it's the first revision of a 289, the A. But there it is. It's all cleaned up, ready to go back together. So it is the original block for the vehicle, for the car. Wanted to make that clear. Also, something very interesting is pulled the head gasket off one of the heads, and as you can see, I hope you can see, maybe it'll focus here. Now that probably just made you sick, is that that's a 1963 part number head gasket. So that was probably the original head gasket off of these, the original heads that came on the car. I did notice they had new freeze plugs in the end of the heads. They're not cleaned up and ready to go yet, but that wasn't uncommon. The little freeze plugs would rust out and you had to get new ones. So pretty common. There's the oil pump and pickup. It needs to be cleaned up before we get ready to go back together. We're still not close to putting this back together. Original timing cover. I've got that all prettied up and ready to go. The original crankshaft, polished up pretty nicely. The shop wanted to turn it. They said that it showed a lot of scratches. Well, scratches aren't a reduction in size and won't cause oil issues, especially for a car that's not going to be driven very much. But I think overall, if you'll take a look at the crank, there's the 1M stamp that all the 289s had. You'll look and see that every journal is pretty nice. And yeah, I agree. It would probably be better if it were turned, but the little scratches that it does have are not big issues. Let's just put it that way. It still has the bushing in it for the 4-speed. So be ready to go. Rods and pistons I've cleaned up, and as you can see, they all work really nice. They are the correct rod. They are the C3 rod, the only rod for a 289 they ever made. And it still has the original Ford bearings, but we will not be using those. We have new bearings. We have new bearings. We have new rings. I made sure that I cleaned out the ring grooves of the pistons. There's one you can see pretty well. You can see how square it is down the side. I cleaned out the carbon as best I could, and they're actually pretty nice. Although this one's not perfect, it's very good. So we got it in there where the rings will work just fine. And yeah, it was the deepest my ring groove cleaner would go. And the pistons all look pretty good too, showing none of the cracking that 289s had a habit of doing. So we're pretty good to go there. Pan's done. Everything's ready. All that needs a major cleaning before we can short block it. But that's why I have the oil pump out. And while we're looking at that. But just wanted to document some of these items, particularly the date codes that go along on the block with everything else. I wanted to make sure that everybody who was interested in this motor sees that it's the right piece and that there are no sacrifices made towards originality. I'm trying to keep it as much original as I can. We have, in addition to the heads, the valves and springs that came out of them. As you can see on the valve springs, there's still a tinge of blue on most of them. That would be the original spring color for this. There's a set of plugs that don't have a modern part number on them, so imagine they're a little bit older, and there are the valves and what's left of the valve seals. They have to be cleaned up today too. And I think I want to clean up the valves before I do any assembling of the motor or cleaning up, because that's just going to put a bunch of carbon back in the air. Every time I clean something, this place gets amazingly trashed. And over there on the parts rack, you can see the intake and carb, the exhaust manifolds, the bell housings, clutch throttle arms, starters, the drive shafts over there, the gold air cleaner, and valve covers all ready to go. So we're getting really close, but just wanted to document all those date codes and that they're on everything. The only thing that's kind of scary is this transmission. Typically on the top loaders, there is a pad right in this neighborhood with all the part numbers on them. It doesn't appear to be on this one. Then again, I haven't cleaned it up really well. So I imagine if I clean it up, I'll find that pad with the part numbers just to verify that everything on it is original as well. So far, car looking really good with originality, and be a nice piece for whomever wants to have a 1964.5. Although it's a July, the last month of 1964.5 build, be a good piece for them to have. Thanks.